Welcome to Worlds Collide, a wrestling card podcast for wrestling fans by wrestling fans, featuring Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com.
This is like a stock market.
And Zhan Morning from Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer, I'm just posing the question. Join them as they navigate the world of wrestling cards, helping you build a bigger and better collection and making some money along the way. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors, Worlds Collide. It's another week. We've got another show, and believe it or not, Tony, I bet you don't even know this. This is actually a request from one of our fellow Twitter wrestling card community members, Frankie Saints. He actually tagged me in a tweet. There was this discussion. You know how those Twitter debates go. There was some discussion about autographed cards and, you know, what's in a more important one or what does the hobby want, stuff like that. So he tagged me and he's like, hey, you guys should do a show about this. And I'm like, done, sir. So
done.
Today we're going to talk about the top 10 signed wrestling cards, and we're going to kind of take this into two different avenues, so to speak. 5 of these, me and Tony have picked 5 of what we think are the most like mainstream cards. So for many people in the sports card hobby, you can look at whether it's a certified pack pulled auto. There are certain cards out there that just stand the test of time as being iconic, you know, like a rookie first Bowman rookie chrome refractor, or, you know, something along those lines. So we'll talk about mainstream, but then this is something that I think that people kind of outside the wrestling card bubble need to know about. And I think this is something that people within the wrestling card bubble need to know about. There are autographs out there that the diehard wrestling fans are going to know that they're rare, hard to find, and just next to impossible. And then there's a crowd that's going to say, I don't care about any of those guys. So that's why we kind of needed to break it down between like 5 mainstream and 5 for like hardcore wrestling fans. So do you think that's a fair assessment to kind of break it down on, you know, what are top autographed cards? Because I think there's this big disparaging difference between the two.
100%.
All right, so I'm going to start with my top 5 mainstream, and this is in no order. It's just 5 that I picked. The 1998 Rock comic images. I think that is one of the biggest mainstream certified releases from a company of any wrestling cards. Let me just run through this and then we'll kind of go back. 82 or 1985 Hulk Hogan autos. I know those are like base cards, so they're going to have to be signed in person, but both of those cards are like equally iconic in their own ways. So I think those are, you know, we see a lot of them out there. I mean, there's not thousands, but there are a good amount out there to where collectors can actually go find them. And that's another thing I should have prefaced, but when I started is these mainstream autos, a lot of times if you go look on eBay, now we're not going to talk pricing, you can find them, and that's the point. But there's some of these autographs that they just don't pop up. So we'll kind of break down the differences.
Yeah, and this is not also, we're also not separating based on what's certified by the manufacturer. Some of these are actually, you know, signed in person kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then authenticated by some like PSA or whoever.
Correct. 2013 Best of WWE Roman Reigns. And this is like, I believe this is a sticker auto. We know the wrestling card hobby does not like sticker autos, even more so than the sports card hobby. Like it seems like the sports card guys can handle sticker autos based on the rarity of the card or the gold refractor or whatever. But wrestling fans, they like those on-card autos. But this card it really is a rookie autograph card. And, you know, back when we kind of take it back to the mid 2000s or the mid teens, I guess I should say, that, you know, there just wasn't a lot of actual rookie card autos that were certified from companies out there. So, and we know Roman's exploded. So that's why I picked that one. Anything Andre the Giant is just, it's kind of a perfect storm with Andre, in my opinion. He, you know, all of his autographs are going to be hand signed. To my knowledge, there's no certified autos, right? Unless it's a cut auto, maybe from like Leaf or something like that.
Something like that, but there's no authentic. I mean, there's no manufactured produced autograph card for Andre.
So then you have to look at, they're out there, but they are still very scarce. Like you might only be able to find 1 or 2 legitimate ones at a time. So that's kind of blending both worlds then. And then my other one, and this is a little bit of a wild card, but anything transcendent. And I'm talking like anybody, whether it's my guy Karrion Kross, whether it's Roman, Vince, Becky Lynch. Does Velveteen Dream have one in there? That one's probably still sought after, even though there's just something with that set that it's kind of giving me these vibes. The more I see people talk about it, of those 98 WCW on card autos. Now you can talk rarity. I don't know, because the Transcendent, like there's only at the maximum, up to number 20, 25.
I think it's 50, isn't it?
That's some of the base cards, but I'm talking
Correct.
about the autos.
Yeah.
The autos only go up to 25. Yeah. I'm not like comparing the two sets. I still like the WCW one more than Transcendent, but the Transcendent just has this following of obviously the superfractors, but even just the pick your parallel out of whatever they're limited. They're still
it's
very
also a
cheap.
design though. It's a design issue there too. It's very portrait like. It's it's a painting. It's a piece of art.
Do you have any personally?
I don't have any.
You get them in your hand and then you get it. Like I have several carrying cross ones, and I'm like, okay, I see why people are going nuts about this now. So, all right, Tony, what do you got for your 5 mainstream hobby wrestling card autographs?
I too also have 98 Comic Images Rock card. There's just something about that card. I mean, there's a lot of great autographs from that set. I mean, with Owen Hart and Mankind and China, but it's The Rock. I mean, the guy, he transcends just the sport itself. So you can't get asked for anything bigger than that guy, and that's just an amazing card to have. I really wish that Comic Images was more forthcoming even back in the day with print runs, but they're not. So people oftentimes will ask about this and the WCW autograph cards. Hey, what was the print runs? We don't know. Manufacturers don't tell you. And they don't even know, I don't think, anymore at this point. I don't think it's going to be a mystery forever that no one's going to know. We can guesstimate how many, probably less than 100, 200, whatever it may be, 50, who knows. But that Rock card, it's not that it doesn't pop up often. There's always at least 1 or 2 of them up there online. It's who it is, and there's not hundreds and hundreds of them, that's for sure.
Right.
I go with anything. For me, I kind of lumped Hogan and Andre together as anything by those two. Anything. I don't care if it's a certified autograph that's more modern from Hogan. I don't care if it's on an 82 All-Stars Hogan. I don't care if it's on an 81 Poppy. Anything that's by Hogan or Andre, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for me.
Yep.
And so for me, I have also Transcendent autographs, but more specifically, I'm narrowing it down even to Vince. And I think that Vince, while he does get some big numbers now, especially for the Transcendent stuff, all his big number stuff really, I think, does involve his Transcendent cards, I believe. Correct?
Yeah. Yes. I didn't want to be wrong. I was like, all the big numbers I've seen.
Yet. Isn't that his biggest number? It was almost 10K for a Transcendent.
The Superfractor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's probably, it's going to be low for Vince. Like whoever got it for that got a deal.
Drake.
Because 15 years from now, 10 years from now, I mean, who knows, the way Vince is, he'll probably live till he's 200 anyway. So, I mean, that card's going to skyrocket. The unfortunate moment when he passes. People are going to be like, oh my God, I should have got a Vince auto. I should have got one when he was around. I mean, I have stuff that's signed by him personally, that I met him in person and got it signed. And I'm never going to part with it probably, just because it's Vince.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I go with my list there. I mean, you could take anything from Andre and Hogan. It's 4. I guess I cheated. I only have 4 things on mine. But what I want to touch about that neither one of us mentioned, by the way, there's no women autograph cards mentioned on our list. And I'm kind of curious as to why that is. Why is it not a Trish or, right now, Alexa Bliss, I don't know. Does she still sell better than anybody else when it comes to women right now? I believe so, right? I
think we're at this weird point, and I had Jameson on my channel to talk about this. I think it was him that pointed out when we got to the point where the men were starting to outsell the women, it was going to be a turning point in the wrestling card hobby. And I think that's, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said it would have been, pretty much, maybe The Rock.
Maybe The Rock,
definitely been Hogan, but then everything else would have been like Becky, Charlotte, Alexa, have been full of Kiss cards because those were
Hell,
huge for.
let's even go back before that. Let's go back 2010. Let's go pre Four Horsewomen and all Alexa
Okay.
Bliss. Is like it was Trish. It was Trish.
Yeah.
China never got the love that she deserved from the hobby. So you're not going to see outrageous stuff by her. But Trish and Lita, Stacy Keibler, Tori Wilson, all that Fleer era stuff was always what's commanding the big money. And then if they were, introduced to anything that had to do with tops, then it was, that outside of Hogan, because Hogan signed for tops, Heritage. And but it was always the ladies. The ladies always sold better. I mean, when I got into the raw deal market, I priced it based on how I did in trading cards for wrestling. And it was always like, okay, $5 for the guys and $8 for the girls, because girls always sold better than guys. But now we live in a world now where that's not even true anymore. And
no. Yeah.
I mean,
Roman Reigns and indie cards. That's two things that have completely changed the aspect of what people are willing to pay and what they're actually seeking out, where it's like sports cards now, where we're seeing like it's somewhat becoming a male dominated, like sales wise. Like when you guys go through, you and Paul, when you guys go through the sales on the WTC channel, it's like dominated by males now, where again, it used to be all about females. One thing I wanted to get your opinion on before we kind of move over to the the more, I guess, obscure stuff, is what do you think about the availability of these things? And we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but let's talk about The Rock. We're both in agreement that was our number one pick. I think it's a huge card, no matter the grade or how, some of the autos are streaky, some of them are better than others, but just no matter what you have, this card is huge. He doesn't sign very much. It could be considered, if you want to like play the game. He
doesn't sign at all anymore.
Yeah.
Put it that way. He doesn't sign at all.
If you want to play the game, it could be considered a rookie auto, whatever on that. But my thing is, like, for a card to kind of go past the mainstream and become that massive card that, the 52 mantle, 86 Jordan kind of thing, you have to have enough of them out there for there to be a market of people that want them. But you also have to have it low enough to where you can't just go out and buy them any day of the week. So where do you stand on that as far as like some of these autographs?
I mean, maybe that's true to an extent. I mean, there aren't a whole lot of Honus Wagner cards out there, but people are still, who can afford to buy those cards or, want them. So I don't know. I mean, scarcity is still scarcity, and there's a reason for it, whatever it may be. But I mean, it's The Rock first off. So I mean, it's just The Rock. I mean, as long as that guy continues to be in the public eye, which it's going to be that way for many, 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 many decades to come, I'm sure. That card's always going to be desirable. It's not a low run. I mean, if you had to speculate, how many of those cards do you think it probably exist?
I really have no idea.
I mean, I was basically in bed with comic images, and I still don't even know.
If I was guessing, maybe a couple hundred, maybe
tops.
Yeah,
tops. But that's the whole thing with wrestling, period. We've talked about it many times before. It's already a low print run to begin with, just from a base level.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start taking things and numbering them. Now we have a certified number of how many cards actually exist for a given card. That's already less than the less printed wrestling base cards already.
Yep.
I mean, it's still, I understand that there's people who want to argue one way or the other about why wrestling cards aren't bigger than they are, when it has a bigger global reach than so many other things that do so much better and print so much more of.
Right.
I don't understand it, but hey, that's the market. The market is dictating how many are out there. Panini's, still probably still printing Prism cards at this point by the time this comes out.
I can't wait until they lose the license and sell you their printing press so you can have Impel and Prism going at the same time.
You know what? I might officially put the Impel one to rest and just keep printing Prism. You never know. You never know. You heard it here first, folks. Which I thought was so funny when that box, those packages you sent me with all the sets, I got a set of Impel. I need a set of Impel, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we talk about like wrestling as a whole is already a low print run. Then you take something and you start throwing a number on it and actually serial number it to even 199, 299,
right.
99, 50, 25. I mean, there's a lot of them, people. Not a lot of them. As market starts to expand, those cards become way harder to come by. I think those values start to go up. Even for people who are, not even on our list are still going to go up. And we're starting to see that now. We're seeing collectors going out and starting investing in Seth Rollins. They're investing in Edge. They're investing in other cards. These guys have a lot of cards out there, but there's low print runs on them, low numbering on them. And they're kind of like, these guys are in their prime. I better invest in now while it's affordable.
Isn't that fun to see? I love seeing it.
I love it.
I love when like wrestling cards are starting to like mirror sports cards, and that, okay, Panini's got rookie card shields, we're going to start prospecting. Or, you know, that Seth Rollins, he's on top of the card now. All of a sudden Seth Rollins cards start going up. Like, it's really, I have no skin in the game on most of that, but it's a lot of fun to see. And I think it's just furthering the wrestling card hobby as a whole into a better direction, so to speak.
Agreed.
Before we move on, one other thing, I'll play devil's advocate here. Hulk Hogan, like, this guy signs anything and everything all the time. Do you think
for a right price?
Yeah, and do you think that is going to hurt the value of his autographs, no matter what it is, down the road?
I don't think so, because another, you know, if you go to any, go to 100 people, just 100 random people, and ask them, name a popular professional wrestler. There's going to be two names that come to mind more than anything else, in my opinion. It's going to be Hulk Hogan and The Rock. So I don't care how many things he has out there. I mean, there's a lot less product out there with The Rock signature on it. I mean, you've only got the Comic Images set. You've only got Mummy Returns. You've only got Scorpion King. And then he signed, you know, for Doom, but that says Dwayne Johnson.
Right.
Which, to my knowledge, I don't know if there's anything from Leaf or some kind of Pop Century type thing.
Not that I've seen.
Out there, he signed as Dwayne Johnson. I don't think he has.
I have not seen any other products autographed other than what you said.
And that's it. You know, it seems like every other or every set coming out in the last several years contains at least a Hogan autograph out of it. Yeah. You know, whether it be stickers or on card, it doesn't matter. It's still a Hogan autograph card. I know that people are kind of sticklers for on cards and that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of it out there. But it's Hogan. It's Hulk Hogan. I mean, 100 years from now, it's going to be Hulk Hogan. I remember him back in the day.
Right.
Well, people, like, you're looking at him. I mean, it's Hogan. It's, there's no other way to explain it.
And generally, that's something something different than between wrestling and sports cards. I try to mirror as much as I can, but then, like, you just can't deny some of these things are different. And I think you just spoke on something that's different, because there are Hall of Fame superstars in other sports, no matter what it is, and they're known to sign so much stuff. And even though they're big Hall of Fame guys, their autos are like, $5. I think you may be right on something with Hogan, where he's the Michael Jordan, and you might say, well, Michael Jordan doesn't sign very much. Well, he's still like the tippy top guy in wrestling history that, everybody knows, as you said. So it'd be interesting.
It's mainstream now because of him. I mean, right. You give credit where credit is due. The wrestling industry is where it's at because of the brilliant mind of Vince McMahon and a once in a lifetime type of talent with Hulk Hogan. You put the two together, and they made wrestling, very mainstream. And we wouldn't even know Hulk Hogan's name if it wasn't, we wouldn't even know The Rock's name if it wasn't for a Hulk Hogan, because there wouldn't be really a business like it is.
Right. So let's transition into, this is for all you hardcore guys out there, the ones that have been with us since day one, because you are wrestling card degenerates. Let's talk about some cards that I think are probably more important to the wrestling card hobby than they are the hobby overall. And what I mean by that is they're harder to find. There's stories behind them that only the hardcore guys are going to know about. And, I'm not saying these are going to be more valuable, less valuable, anything like that. It's just, I think there are some cards and things that need to be talked about that, someone on social media might see one of these cards and be like, well, what's so special about that? Why is that? Why is this, specific person's card on this specific card worth 5 times what I can go buy it for on a Leaf sticker auto or a Topps auto or something like that? So my first one is is it 1998 or is it 1999 that this Ric Flair card is supposed to be out in WCW?
99.
Okay. Everybody who's anybody within the wrestling card hobby knows the mystery. Like, we don't know what's going on with this card. There's so many stories. What is there? One? We know one, right?
For that, you're talking about the Ric Flair on the Topps.
Yes.
Yeah. So the story is that so far to date, only one has ever been signed by Rick. Where that card came from, according to when we first put that information up on WTC, and until proven otherwise. That's why I love to interview Charles Robinson possibly, or have Jimmy Hart on, because these are the guys that were liaisons between WCW and Topps at the time. Since I can't find the guy who worked for Topps that worked with those guys, I can't find him. The story has he signed one. Didn't want to sign any of them, but signed one. And this came through, and it came to light on eBay years ago. And I believe it was through Jimmy Hart's son, I believe, posted up there. And that was the story, that he just had the one, cleaning out some stuff, had the one, and that was it, put it up there. And at the time it sold for like $2,000. I think it was like $2,000 time, which is a steal today. And it's the only one known to man that's ever been put out there signed by him. Is Flair sitting on a stack of wrestling cards that he doesn't know about somewhere? I don't know. Is it sitting with Jimmy Hart in a garage somewhere? I don't know. Love to find out. But to date, only one's ever been signed.
And that's the exact kind of stories that we're talking about, that only the hardcore wrestling collector is going to know about. Like, that leads into my next two picks here. And this is,
unless you go to WTC as a collector, casual collector, you use WTC, you'll find information like that.
Hey, if PSA is using it, you should as well, right?
That's right.
The next up, 82 All-Stars Ric Flair. Why? Okay, everybody knows this card. Everybody's seen it autographed.
Sure.
Why did I pick this? Because of his new deal that they don't allow him to sign this card. And I'm going to transition to my next card, which was unbelievable to me. 1991 Undertaker rookie cards.
Anything 91.
Yeah. Anything from the 82 Flair and the 91 Undertaker cards. None of these are allowed to be signed anymore. And
Which is funny, because the 82 Flair is for the Wrestling All-Stars. It's specifically that card. Like, he could sign, he has earlier stuff that came out before that.
Yeah.
And those are fine as far as I know. You can sign those. It's just that Wrestling All-Stars.
And Undertaker too, I believe, right?
Undertaker is just anything from 1991. I don't care if it's classic, Merlin, whatever it is.
But I think he signs cards either I guess afterwards. Like, you got some base cards from the mid 90s or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know of any other cards that are older than 91 for Undertaker. I mean, at the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, 94 Action Pack or whatever else you want to get kind of stuff. He'll sign that kind of stuff.
I just think it's interesting because if I actually saw this debate when Fitterman started charging the prices for the Undertaker and said no 1991 cards. I specifically remember a thread, and I think it was on Twitter. Some people were replying to it, and it was all these wrestling fans, and they're like, what's the big deal about 1991 Undertaker cards? And I'm like, this is why.
And they don't even know.
No, they have no idea. No. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, that's the mainstream wrestling fans who don't know the ins and outs of the cards. So it's, again, tricky situation. And
this
speaking
is the hashtag of, like, if you know, you know.
Yeah. 1994 action-packed Macho Man and Undertaker autographs. I've been pounding the drum on these cards since I really got back into the hobby a couple years ago, because they're the first serial numbered wrestling cards. I believe they're, unless you want to count that Legends set, they would be like the first pack pullable autograph cards.
Well, not even that. The Legends set wasn't a pack; it was a factory set.
Right. So that's why I didn't know. There's some people that would count that, and there's some people that wouldn't. But my thing with this is, I keep telling people how rare and hard to find these things are, because they're, my common rebuttal I get from people is, oh, there's 500 of them out there. They're numbered to 500. Like, you guys don't understand, like, how wrestling cards were in the mid 90s. I'm sure some of these were thrown away, and they're always in pretty terrible condition for the most part. And
anybody who was collecting these and found the value in them probably are hoarding some of them. Like, they probably have more than one.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever seen it. I don't have a scanner. I should probably get you some sort of picture if you don't have it for WTC. Some of them come with authentication. Like, have you seen those?
Yep.
Like, I've only talked to 2 other people that have those with one of their cards. So that's.
But I believe those were done as prizes. You got those. They didn't come in a pack. You got those as a prize, because I believe if the wrapper mentioned something about sending in for like a
redemption type of thing,
redemption, like a raffle, or you enter to win kind of deal, kind of things like that. You can win one of those cards, one of those cards. How many of those they gave out, I don't know.
Just adding even more random rarity onto it. Yeah. And the last thing I have on my list is Miscellaneous Legends. So what I'm talking about here is like Matt Bourne, or, some of the Japanese guys, maybe some of the Memphis Legends, Kerry Von Erich, like these big names within wrestling, where the collector base knows we just don't see autographs from these guys very often. But when you ask the mainstream, they like don't even care. Like, if you want me to relate this back to the Ric Flair, like, why is an 82 Flair signed so important when I could just go buy a Leaf sticker auto? Why is the Undertaker auto so important when I can go buy a Prism sticker auto? Like,
Yep.
it's just the fact that they don't understand how rare and hard to find in the history and the story. So I'll turn it over to you and your choices.
I'm one of my agreements with you is the 94 action pack for all the reasons we just talked about. So that's already right off my list right there. I'm also going to go back to our original first five and bring up Vince again, because I believe that Vince is just already, until recently, he'd never signed before. He had never signed for a product before. And even the stuff that he signed recently is very limited. And I don't think people who are not diehard wrestling fans coming into our hobby don't really think about Vince. I think a lot of people who do collect wrestling cards still don't think about Vince. The diehards out there obviously do, because those who are buying them, you're seeing some pretty big numbers for Vince cards that have been hitting the market in the last 6 months or so.
Right.
So Vince is definitely, it's always going to be on my list. And I really should practice what I preach in that respect. Like, I should probably have gone out and started, buying up Vince stuff, but it's not my PC. I just look at it from an outsider looking in. Sure. It's like, that's something I think people are missing. I think people are missing the brain behind what you're watching these days, or why you're a fan.
Right.
So Vince is going to be on my list. I think the Stone Cold Steve Austin from the 2001 WrestleMania Fleer stuff.
Good call. Yeah.
One, they're numbered. So those are numbered to 500 as well. Are there actually 500 out there? I don't know. I don't know if Fleer ever got them all signed. I don't know. And I was in pretty good with Fleer at the time too. And I never really asked, are they really 500? I didn't ask for that kind of stuff. Like, print runs to me wasn't a big deal. So I didn't really push in the late 90s, early 2000s. I never pushed for print runs when I was asking questions from manufacturers. I just want to know, does it exist? Yes. Great. I want to document it. Sure. Maybe I should have, pushed for print runs back in the day, but I don't think they would have given to me anyways, because, these companies outside of actually that's numbered were never really forthcoming with information. And on top of that, especially with Fleer, oftentimes you would get serial number stuff, whether it be actual encoded, like, branded serial codes on them, or hand numbered. Sometimes as replacements, it's in another one that's unnumbered.
That more mystery within these products.
So it's like, hey, how do you know how many exist? And if it's like numbered to 25, yet mine was damaged, you replaced it with an unnumbered one. Now it's like, how many extras do you have left? I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, that Stone Cold one, which would be his first certified autograph card.
Mm-hmm.
And another person that I think, as big of a character as he is and as important as he is to the industry itself, I think he's grossly undervalued as well.
Yeah.
And again, Hogan, McMahon, boom, we understand that. Okay, well, McMahon gets, kind of pushed to the side, not really thought of when it comes to investing or collecting. Austin and McMahon, another pairing of brainchilds. Again, I just don't think they're getting the love that they deserve. And I think unless you're a true diehard wrestling fan, that there's going to be some long-term value there with those guys.
You said something that I want to touch on real quick.
Sure.
I think it's interesting that this past WrestleMania, Austin's coming back. Oh my gosh. But then when Vince said he's going to get involved, it was almost like we had more of a build around Vince and The Rock coming back next year facing Roman than we did Austin coming back.
Which is strange, right?
It's very, yeah. I don't understand.
But the crowd reaction, the pop that Austin got is still undeniable.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I mean, you're there in the crowds like that. No one, I don't care. Nobody gets a pop. Go back and YouTube it, guys. Anybody wants to go back and check out, there's all kinds of YouTubes of, like, the loudest pops in wrestling history, the top 10 pops in wrestling. And, you're going to probably have some Cenas in there and other things, but nothing hits like an Austin. That glass breaks, the place just loses its freaking mind. Yeah. I also added, I don't care, all of it and any of it from 98, 99 WCW autograph cards. I think people outside of a Hogan, people just fall asleep on everything else. If you don't know, you don't know. But if you're a wrestling fan, a diehard out there, you know how important and valuable those autograph cards from the Lash LaRue's all the way to the Hulk Hogan, Stings, and Bret Harts and Goldbergs like that. They're just in various print runs. If you want to equate it to that, we don't know how many exist of any of them.
And then the variations of them on top of that, like,
and then variations, signed in blue, signed in black, signed in front, signed on back, unsigned. I mean, there's just, the mystery that still, simmers around us of just like, are there any others out there? Was there an Ultimate Warrior one? Was there an Eric Bischoff one? Was there the elusive Ted Turner one?
Possibly?
Or a Vampiro, well, we just won't know until these actually, surface, and hopefully they're not fakes, because we deal with that kind of stuff in our hobby now, like every other hobby does now, because technology allows people to make some great stuff. But all the WCW autograph cards, all of them, they're all, if you're a diehard, you know how important they are to this hobby. You just know how important they are. But if you're an outsider coming in going, who cares about a gentleman, who cares about Chris Adams? Who cares about, Bobby Duncombe Jr.?
I was just going to say Bobby Duncombe Jr.
I mean, who cares about, some of these people? But people who are like, no, and collect go, yeah, it's not a Hogan, but that's still a short printed card, or that card was never put in packs, like a Mysterio card or a Scott Steiner card, kind of thing. And they know. So those cards are, the diehards know about it.
Yep. Well, I think that was a really good set of like educational speech today. I think we covered a lot of ground. Is there anything else that we did not cover that you think we should mention as we close out? As far as like,
I also have to say for the diehards as well, it's like that. Notice there was no women listed in that stuff.
Yeah, that's true. But I'll say like chasing. I think there's 3 women. Is there 3 or 4? 3 and no. In the 82-83 set, like it's gonna be hard for me to find those signs. So like I know as the diehard, but like, yeah, you're right. Like, even though it's an iconic set, like people coming into it are not going to be gravitating or understanding how, like,
and I don't think any of those 3 women aren't alive anymore, right?
I don't think so.
Moolah, Kenny Devine just passed away a few months back.
Right.
Who was the last one on there?
Moolah. Did we say Moolah?
I said Moolah already. Yeah. Moolah, Kenny Devine, and someone else.
Oh my gosh. Why am I forgetting the other one right now?
Yeah.
But anyway,
David Peck, where are you?
Yeah, David, get out there and produce some content. We're still hitting that hammer on that one. But the people coming in, they're going to go like, give me the Hogan, give me the Andre, give me the Jerry Lawler, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they're not going to see how actually some of these cards are going to be even way harder to actually have signed than those big stars. So
I mean, even stuff like I got into it myself, with Jake and
they're
perfect examples right here. Like people outside the hobby are like, who cares like that, but these are important people. They're very important to the hobby.
Yep. All right, Tony. Let everybody know where they can find you and anything you want to promote. Don't forget Top Rope Con.
I'm going to mention Top Rope Con, but everything can be found on WrestlingTradingCards.com. All of our social media that we participate in can be found on the bottom of every page. And mentioning Top Rope Con, that's Top Rope. You can either go to TopRopeCon.com or TopRopeWrestlingCon.com. It takes you to the same page. Either whatever one you want to use that you can remember easily. But we have a few, by the time this episode comes out, I'm not sure who's been announced yet, but we have a few more that we haven't announced quite yet. But ticket sales are going pretty well. I encourage everybody to pre-purchase your autographs with talent you want to get autographs from. Pre-purchase your photo ops, whether it be a selfie, pro photo op, combos, whatever. All that stuff can be found and is linked up right there on TopRopeWrestlingCon.com, September 16th and 17th in Tampa, Florida.
I also want to make mention of that, which I already have done this on previous shows, and the Card Foundation guys have done this as well. To me, this is going to be an opportunity for some wrestling card collectors to actually get together. Like, if you don't want to go to the national, just go ahead and skip that. It's going to be a bunch of old timers and prison boys anyway.
Hey, I'm going to be there.
Nah. I mean, you are going to be there, and I know you guys are doing something that is like, it is pivotal. But the more that I hear you talk about Top Rope Con, and I know Card Foundation is going to be there, I know Paul's going to be there helping with WTC and the price guide, and I'm just like, this feels to me like I know there's other stuff going on and there's other vendors in wrestling, but it feels to me like if you like to travel and you want to get together with some people, this could be like the wrestling card meetup for the diehards.
Hopefully as an annual thing too. I'm really
Yeah.
hoping annually we can come there and obviously I want to have that part of my heart. So I was going to be about wrestling cards, but from other business, I have to kind of think about how to run a good show.
Sure.
And I'm really hoping that this it's successful to a level where we can have this as an annual thing. And I'd love to be able to annually meet up with not only the OGs, the guys who all have been doing this wrestling card stuff for a while, but then every year start seeing new collectors coming in, it's like that, and going, I got to go to that show. That's where talent comes, whether it be legends or new guys, get my cards signed or whatever they want.
Right.
And vendors can be there, selling up what they need to on cards. And I hope I can get an Upper Deck or Panini or Topps or anybody in the years to come in there and say, and debut something there of like showing off their what's coming out for the rest of the year. That'd be awesome. That's a dream of mine.
Guys, make sure to check that out. And it's just like creating content or, whatever it is. Like if you want to support something, that's the way to keep things going. So if you like something, keep supporting it and it will keep, showing up. And speaking of that, you can check me out on YouTube, Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. The Wrestling with Cards podcast is kind of making a comeback. So it's available on all popular podcast platforms as well. At Zhan Morning on all social platforms. And, links in the show notes to everything that Tony's talked about and I've talked about here. If you need to find us on social or whatever it is, I've got links in the show notes of this podcast that you can check out. Please subscribe to this if you got some value out of our show today. If we helped kind of steer you in a direction of some information that you didn't know, or maybe you did know and you just need a confirmation or whatever it is, like hopefully we're just bringing you information to help further the wrestling card community, the wrestling card hobby, just growing, expanding, getting more people in, and ultimately having fun, because that's all about. Got anything else before we get out of here?
No, I think we got it good.
Thank you guys for listening. Again, subscribe, leave a review on whatever you're listening to this on. And until next time, keep collecting and having fun. We'll see you.